a two-part request. Number one, I've only recently been exposed to the Abraham laws, if you will, and have been quite successful in the initial application of these laws. First question is, what is appropriate as far as sharing the tapes and materials and so forth that I've purchased with a friend, or not sharing?
If you feel, here is the starting point on all of this. When you answer a question that hasn't been asked, it's sort of like pushing a noodle. So when you realize that this universe is based upon attraction, there is no assertion and there is no exclusion, and you feel that someone is asking, and many times they're asking in many ways other than coming right out and saying, what do you know that I don't know? But it is important that as a teacher that you be sensitive to where your student is before you begin expressing, because sometimes if a person isn't asking and you begin offering information, it just confuses their experience and doesn't make them feel better. Where when you give them answers to questions that they are asking, they feel the relief of that. And so as you've been listening to, we'll wait for you to open that and then we'll proceed. Sometimes it's just easier to just let it happen. When you are looking at your friends in the way that you are looking or listening to what we've been talking about here, can you feel how you can feel the relief as the resistance is set aside? In other words, did you notice as you were listening in to those who were sitting in the chair that you could feel the relief that they were discovering? And so when you imagine the person that you are wanting to enlighten or assist, and you're thinking in terms of their relief, now you'll know your timing will be perfect about what you say and what you offer. When you really care about them finding relief, when you really understand that for their life to get better, all they've got to do is stop that resistance that they've been offering. And so then if you let your entire effort be, we're answering your question too, if you let your entire effort be about putting words out there or example out there that gives them a little sense of relief, then you realize you can lead them right into the joyous connection with their source that they are reaching for. Everything that everyone wants, we've never known anyone that wanted anything other than to feel good. Whether they are asking for a material object or an understanding or a relationship or a circumstance or an event, nobody ever wants anything for any other reason other than that they think they will feel better in the achieving of it. And so when you show people how they can feel better, as you give them the benefit of the doubt, as you say to them, it'll be all right, as you say to them, well, I can see that you're really on the right path, or I'm not worried about you, I know it's unfolding, then not just the giving to them of these tapes and materials, but the giving to them of anything that you think is of value to them. You heard us visiting with a friend here today who, let's say that you know someone who is feeling eaten up by jealousy. And you say, I've got a tape that'll help you with that jealousy. You can feel how those words and that offering would give them not relief, but would make them feel more tense. Their wall of resistance would come up still further. And so your sensitivity to where they are and your approach at helping them to find relief is paramount in being this gentle, kind teacher that you are.
Well, my concern mostly is with being out of integrity with Jerry and Esther about this issue.
Jerry and Esther's concern is not so much about the duplicating of the materials and the, in essence, stealing of the materials, because they have both, in every sense of the word, committed everything that they are to the encouragement of this knowledge. Nothing is more pleasing to them than for someone to hear this. Okay. They are aware, however, that it may be of value for the person who is hearing it to, once they have found stability within it and may want to reach for more, that they then could come back to the wellspring of the material. And almost every day they receive a manuscript from someone who has written their version of the laws and the processes and the dialogues. And it is interesting to Jerry and Esther how almost without exception they want to leave Jerry and Esther and Abraham out of it. And Jerry and Esther's discomfort with that is that that would lead the person who is finding it to the interpretation that this person has made. And that's fine, but it would not lead them to anything beyond that if they were reaching for it. And so that is the reason that Jerry puts the copyright material, more because he is wanting people to be able to reach for it if they are wanting. There's a book that has been written. It's called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. And it is almost verbatim the processes and even the stories that are written in it. The stories that are written as if they happened to the author were actually stories that she heard as she listened to years and years and years of Jerry and Esther's recordings. There is very little that is in the book that you would not find in one of the transcriptions from one of the recordings that she received. And her reasoning in not making it obvious that Jerry and Esther and Abraham were readily available was she said that she believed that there were a lot of people that were not ready for the entirety that they are. And she thought that it would be better for them if they were just spoon-fed a little bit of what she had interpreted through. So she put a very small note in the front of the book with great enthusiasm about having found the material, and she put a post office box in the front of the book and said the Hicks family. And so every now and again Jerry and Esther will get an extremely apologetic letter, and the letter essentially says, I have read this book which has revolutionized my life. I love what I've written, which is truly a credit not only to the Abraham material and what Jerry and Esther have done with it, but also with this woman's spin on it. In other words, her name is Lynn Grabhorn, and she has put a spin on it that has focused it and made it powerful. And then they will say in the letter, I hope I'm not intruding, but I would really like to know if there is something that you have that I might have access to. And Jerry and Esther laugh because they can feel the hesitation. In other words, along with offering them all of these tools and all of the power of these processes, she has also deliberately put a roadblock in their way, and only the very strong ones make their way back through it. And that is what Jerry and Esther are wanting. They're wanting anyone to have clear access to make their way back through it. But then we say to Jerry and Esther, law of attraction will take care of that, won't it? In other words, there's no reason to feel protective. There's no reason to feel guarded. There's no reason to worry. There's no reason to worry what someone will do with it. There's no reason to believe that it will be misused. In other words, law of attraction is the manager of all of this, isn't it? Law of attraction will make sure that those that are ready for you come to you. And law of attraction will make sure that those that are ready to come to you but might want something more can go to wherever they're wanting. In other words, no one in this universe is ever precluded from anything. Law of attraction is the manager of all of that. And so we would say about this the same thing that we say about everything. It's time to be less guarded. When you live in a world of laws and rules, sometimes it's easier to abide by the rules. And that was really Jerry's thinking in that. He had exposure and experience to someone many years ago, and it's still sort of stuck in his craw, where this person actually lost access to his own material because someone else copyrighted his material. And so Jerry copyrights everything to make sure that he never loses access to that which they have devoted their life to, and trust that everyone else will do what is vibrationally appropriate to them. And it's quite a range. And we have noticed that since both Jerry and Esther have released any sense of needing to protect themselves of what others will do, because you can't. In other words, there's no possible way. There aren't enough jails and enough laws to keep others from doing what they will do. And this universe is orchestrated to provide that. In other words, the sooner that anyone releases the idea that they're going to keep somebody from doing something by writing a law and just starts adjusting their own vibration, then the sooner that person will find themselves in consistent, exalted joy. We're glad you brought it up.
Perfect segue into the next issue that I'd like to address with your help. I accept full responsibility for everything in my life, perceived good as well as perceived bad. And many years ago, I made a conscious choice, which at this time I regret because I'm out of integrity with the IRS and wish to have some sort of a bridge to get back in integrity and do not know how to go about it. The methods that I've gone about so far have all just been totally unworkable. So without being too specific about that, I would like to ask for some assistance or some guidance as to how to get this thing back under control.
Well, the most important thing that we want to say to you, and we think as you hear this and it settles in, it will give you a sense of power and freedom. We really were speaking specifically to you when we talked about Jerry and Esther's navigational system, and we pointed out that Magellan doesn't say, "Where have you been?"
Right.
Magellan is only interested in where they now are and where they are wanting to be. And so, if you could see yourself not as someone that needs to go back and fix something, but instead someone who is here and wanting to go here. In other words, try to separate the idea of the repayment to IRS. Try to separate that and just look at it philosophically. Look at the analogy of it rather than the specifics that you are talking about. And just think in terms of, here I am and I'm wanting to go here, rather than here I am and I need to go back and fix all of that and come back to here and then start over, because that's the part that feels so impossible. And it is our promise to you that as you say, here I am and this is what I'm wanting, that a means to achieve that will come about.
Okay.
Once you get your energy lined up to that, and you're very close to that, we felt it. Even the words that you spoke, those are perfect words about wanting to come back into integrity. Not go back and clean everything in the world up. Not go back and undo everything, but just from where I am now to where I'm wanting to be. And so just hold that thought. And don't take any action until the action feels like it's taking you. In other words, when the right idea comes, you'll know it. There won't be any question in your mind about it.
I've had a lot of fun with your segment intending driving at very high rates of speed recently, too. That's been fun. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.